So the Aries 1.1, the G1.1, is a replacement for the entry-level Auralic streamer, the G1, which came out earlier this year. It differs in appearance only really through the addition of this lower silver base plate, and it remains at the same £2,500 price point. The Aries G1.1 represents the entry level for Auralic streamers now, and is a dedicated streamer. It doesn't have a DAC on board, so you need a separate DAC to convert the output, and its outputs are limited to digital, of course. It's a wired or wireless network streamer, and comes with sort of twin antennas for those who want to use it wirelessly. I tend to find that wired connections are more reliable and can sound better, although occasionally you can get quite a nice sound with wireless connections. Although people say it introduces more jitter, it actually doesn't sound that bad, strangely. The G1.1 has your basic transport controls and menu access controls on the front. You can set it up to be used with any infrared remote control, but there isn't one in the box, so you have to provide your own, but most of us have got at least one of these lying around at home somewhere, I imagine. The big difference between this and the G1 it replaced is this base, the silver base, which adds mass and rigidity to the box. It makes the cabinet that much more stiff and therefore more resistant to vibration. Vibration does matter to digital components. It's a common myth that bits are bits and that they can't be changed, yet there's a massive difference between digital audio components, and one of the reasons for that is that vibration does make a difference. It does affect the performance of the product. All digital components, including streamers, have a clock in them, and that runs on a quartz crystal which oscillates at a specific frequency, and vibration, external vibration getting to that quartz can subtly alter the frequency, can subtly undermine the precision of that clock, and the result of that is jitter in the signal. So it does effectively distort the outgoing signal. So it's quite important that vibration is kept away from pretty well all audio components, but digital components as much as any. As you can see, it's got pretty well the full gamut of digital outputs, including AES, EBU on the XLR, coaxial, optical and USB. The only connection it's missing compared to the more expensive G2.1 Aries is the Auralic Lightning link, which is an HDMI connection. This is a proprietary link that goes between Auralic components, so between a streamer and a DAC, or a streamer and a clock. Given that this is the entry-level streamer and that there is no entry-level DAC, you don't really need that link. The USB-A connection next to the DAC output, marked here HDD, is multifunctional. It can be connected to a USB drive for music storage, but it can also be connected to an optical disk drive, the sort of computer peripheral type, and from there you can get the lightning app that controls the Aries to either rip disks in that drive to storage in the network or in the player, or you can just simply play disks that are placed in that transport. So it becomes a CD player effectively, which is an odd thing to have when you've got a streamer, but it's quite nice to be able to play discs that are new, for instance, that aren't you haven't ripped your library yet. It's quite a nice added extra that, for the cost of a peripheral drive, which is less than £100, is not expensive. It's quite, and they say because of the processing within the streamer, you should be able to get pretty good results. There is also the option to add a drive within the Aries itself. You can put in a 2.5-inch SATA drive, either HDD or SSD, and use that as your music library, therefore eliminating the need for a NAS drive or even a dedicated audio server such as a Melco or an Inuus, and getting a very good quality library in the process. It's arguably as good as a standalone server from one of those brands, and yet comes at the cost of a SSD drive, which is not particularly high. HDD, of course, is even cheaper, but SSD is generally preferable. This can be fitted by the dealer when you buy the product, or can be retrofitted too. Auralic are a little bit cagey about encouraging end users to change the drive or to install a new drive, but as far as I'm aware, it's no more difficult than it would be in a PC, for instance. As well as giving access to popular streaming services such as Tidal and Qobuz, this Aries can access Amazon Music, high-res audio, and the popular Far Eastern service KKBox, which makes it unusual in the streaming world. Most are limited to the established streaming services, Spotify, etc., which this can of course do. In fact, it does Spotify Connect and Tidal Connect, so you can access it directly from the apps for those services. The Lightning app, which Auralic developed to go with its streamers, is basically an excellent interface. Very nice looking, very clean, not entirely unlike Rune in some respects, but doesn't offer you the depth of information from that service. It does, however, sound extremely good through their streamers, of course. The Auralic Lightning app automatically upsamples incoming PCM streams to 32-bit. It maintains the sample rate of the original file, but regardless of whether it's 44.1 or 96K, it always upsamples. Okay, so this is composers, albums. Take that one for example, press play and it'll play it from the top, and it was originally 44.1 16-bit CD. The Aries is upsampling it to 44.1 32-bit, so doubling the bit rate, which generally helps the sound quality. You can't actually change that, but it doesn't seem to hold the streamer back whatsoever. If you come away from here, you can go into the settings and have a look at how it's set up through additional operations. Here you can see the remote control, the volume control isn't enabled. There's no delay time, which some systems require. AirPlay is turned off, Bluetooth is turned off, but it is Rune ready. And Tidal Connect is turned on, although I find the Tidal interface with this pretty good. Actually, there's no need to use Connect. Under hardware setup, you can choose the digital output channel being used, which is a choice between whatever's connected to the USB output, in this case an iFi DAC, or digital output supplies to the coaxial AES and optical options. All the other stuff is pretty straightforward. Library setup, you can set up so that it rescans the library on a schedule. Somewhere down here, there you go, schedule rescan on, which means you don't have to tell it to look at the library. Every time you put a new album in, it'll look at it at the same time every day, for instance. But if you do want to instantly check or get it to have a look, rescan, just tap that button and it does that. There is the option for USB storage, which I don't have on here at the moment, but that's one of the ways of doing it. This SMB approach, as it's called, is for connected servers which are on the network, NAS drives, for instance. Dismiss that, cancel that, close that, and find something to play. Easy as that.